Good day, everyone. I am Justin Piakala. Together with me is Miss Mizzy Ira Borges and Stephanie Lee. And in this video, we are going to talk about the theories of globalization. Our learning objectives for this discussion is to identify the different theories associated with globalization and to understand the theories of globalization in terms of development, economic conditions, and political and cultural influences. So let's start discussing the theories of globalization.
Hi, I'm Vera Boris and I'm here to discuss the three theories of globalization.
The first theory is theory of liberalism. Liberalism sees the process of globalization as market-led extension of modernization. In layman's term, it is a result of natural human desires for economic welfare and political liberty. As such, transplanetary connectivity is derived from human drives to maximize material well-being and to exercise basic freedom. Fructify in the form of technological advances and suitable legal and institutional arrangement to enable markets and liberal democracy to spread on trans-world scale. The second theory is theory of political realism. Advocates of this theory are interested in questions of state power, the pursuit of national interest, and conflict between states. According to them, states are inherently acquisitive and self-serving, and heading for inevitable competition of power. They stand for balance of power, where any attempt by one state to achieve world dominance is countered by collective resistance from other states. Example of this is the Russia versus Ukraine war. The next theory is theory of Marxism. Marxism is principally concerned with modes of production, social exploitation through unjust distribution, and social emancipation through the transcendence of capitalism. Accordingly to Marxists, globalization happens because trans-world connectivity enhances opportunities of profit-making and surplus accumulation. Marxists reject both liberalist and political realist explanation of globalization. The main goal of Marxism is to achieve a classless society throughout the world. Example of which is when Mao Zedong took over control of China in 1949.
Before we start, my name is Stephanie Lee and I will discuss three theories. Theory of Constructivism. Globalization has also arisen because of the way that people have mentally constructed the social world with particular symbols, language, images, and interpretation. It is the result of particular forms and dynamics of consciousness. Constructivists concentrate on the ways that social actors construct their world, both within their own minds and through intersubjective communication with others. Social geography is a mental experience as well as a physical fact. They form in or out as well as us and they groups. They conceive of themselves as inhabitants of a particular global world. National, class, religious, and other identities respond in part to material conditions, but they also depend on intersubjective construction and communication of shared self-understanding. However, when they go too far, they present a case of social, psychological reductionism, ignoring the significance of economic and ecological forces in shaping mental experience. Next is the theory of postmodernism. Some other ideational perspectives of globalization highlight the significance of structural power in the construction of identities, norms, and knowledge. They all are grouped under the label of postmodernism. They too, as Michel Foucault, thus strive to understand society in terms of knowledge power. Power structures shape knowledge. Certain knowledge structures support certain power hierarchies. In this way, Western rationalism overawe indigenous cultures and other non-modern life worlds. Postmodernism, like Marxism, helps to go beyond the relatively superficial accounts of liberalist and political realist theories and expose social conditions that have favored globalization. Obviously, postmodernism suffers from its own methodological idealism. All material forces, though come under impact of ideas, cannot be reduced to modes of consciousness. For a valid explanation, interconnection between ideational and material forces is not enough. Next is we have the theory of feminism. It focuses on gender relations and status of women in different societies. It puts emphasis on social construction of masculinity and femininity. All other theories have identified the dynamics behind the rise of transplanetary and supraterritorial connectivity in technology, state, capital, identity, and the like. Biological sex is held to mold the overall social order and shape significantly the course of history, presently globality. Their main concern lies behind the status of women, particularly their structural subordination to men. Women have tended to be marginalized, silenced, and violated in global communication.
Now let us proceed with the next theory of globalization.
Theory of Transformationalism. This theory has been expounded by David Held and his colleagues. Accordingly, the term globalization reflects increased interconnectedness in political, economic, and cultural matters across the world, creating a shared social space. This interconnectedness, globalization, may be defined as a process which embodies a transformation in the spatial organization of social relations and transactions, expressed in transcontinental or interregional flows and networks of activity, interaction, and power. Held and McGrew's analytical framework is constructed by developing a three-part typology of theories of globalization. First is the hyperglobalist. These argue that the contemporary globalization defines a new era in which people everywhere are increasingly subject to the disciplines of the global marketplace. Given the importance of the global marketplace, multinational enterprises and intergovernmental organizations which regulate their activity are key political errors. Next is skeptics. Hurst and Thompson ostensibly argue that globalization is a myth which conceals the reality of an international economy increasingly segmented into three major regional blocks in which national governments remain very powerful. Lastly, it is the transformationalists. It tells us that globalization occurs as states and societies across the globe are experiencing a process of profound change as they try to adapt to a more interconnected but highly uncertain world. Last theory of globalization is a theory of eclecticism. This eclecticism is a conceptual approach that does not hold rigidly to a single paradigm or set of assumptions, but instead, it draws upon multiple theories or ideas to gain complementary insights into a subject or applies different theories in particular cases. So this means that it puts emphasis on technology and institution building, national interest and interstate competition, capital accumulation and class struggle, identity and knowledge construction, rationalism and cultural imperialism, and masculinized and subordination of women. John R. Scott synthesizes them as a force of production, governance, and identity and knowledge. So theory of eclecticism is all about the growth of transactions and interdependence between countries. To have a more globalized world means a world where more information, money, ideas, investments, good, and people cross borders between nation-state territorial units. So that's it for the theories of globalization. Thank you and good day.